Hello, hello. Welcome to the Mystic Path. This will be an energy update. It's going to be a little different than we normally do. It probably also will be a little longer than normal. I sat down to do the June energy update like I normally do and started channeling and making notes like I normally do. And basically what I found is this energy update that we're talking about today is going to talk about the energy from June till November. Okay, so we just came off of 2 eclipses in April, end of April, early May, right? We know eclipse energy can last up to 6 months. It can also really turn things upside down. If you have not seen any of the videos from April and May, I suggest watching them. They explain a lot of what's been happening. Things have been intense lately, right? And it's not stopping now. Starting in June, we have a whole new batch of energy coming in, and it's more transformative energy. It's more about like solidifying change and adaptation and adjustment into reality, right? And we know that that can be difficult. Okay? That can be difficult for lots of people. Humans in general do not like change, okay? I am somebody who can honestly say that was one of my shadow elements. I hated change. I was afraid of change. When I was younger, I used to cling on to situations, whatever it was, people, situations, jobs, ideas, because I hated change and I wanted things to be consistent, stay the same. And, I suffered a lot because of that, right? Because if you're not adaptable, if you're not flexible, if you can't move with the flow of the energy, then you're going to have more struggles and obstacles, right? Because you're resisting. The energy is trying to flow and you're resisting. No, I don't want change. I want things to be exactly the way they were yesterday, and I want them to stay that way forever, right? So then that energy still has to try to flow around you, and it just is banging up against you, and you're banging up against it. That's resistance, okay? And having resistance will cause you, anyone, any human, anybody resisting anything, usually it causes challenges and obstacles, right? And it causes uncomfortableness, right? When we're afraid to change, when everything's changing around us and everything's moving and we're just not, that causes pain and suffering and chaos and confusion and frustration, right? There's going to be a lot of that this summer. The collective, we're going to be able to feel there's going to be this like underlying rage and anger and frustration, because it's like people are going to start to be able to feel the change in all this new energy coming in, and nobody's really going to understand what's happening, right? People are going to start to feel things feel different. Something feels different. And humans immediately will go to the worst case scenario and be like, oh, something feels different. I should panic. I should fear. I should be afraid, right? Because that's a survival instinct. That's something that, like, as humans, we've developed over thousands and thousands of years, right? Fight, flight, flee. Oh, geez. Okay. It's funny. I'm not right now. Please send it later. I've been working on some projects in my work, and the last couple of days, the ideas flooding in for this project have been crazy. And just now, when I said fight, flight, or flee, I started getting messages, put this in the work thing, do this here. And I'm like, I can't do that right now. I'm focused on this, right? So remind me later, please. So fight, flight, or flee is where people are gonna go to, right? This is kind of what humans do. It's like something's different, something feels different. All you have to do is watch animals, right? They have an instinct. Like I always say, I live in Florida. It storms really bad here. We have really bad tropical storms, which I love. It's one of my favorite parts. And when my parents visit, they're not used to like out of nowhere a sudden violent tropical thunderstorm rolls in and rolls out, right? And like out of nowhere, it's like sunny one minute, and then the next minute it's like all black and ominous, and then it unleashes like nature's full force for like an hour or two. Just sometimes so bad if you're driving, like you have to pull over to the side of the road because there's no possible way you can see or it's safe, right? And then it rolls out just as fast as it rolled in, right? We have these tropical storms, especially in the summer. Well, I have 2 cats, which you all know one of them. He's at my feet and might join us later. But animals have instincts, right? And they know, because they're very connected to nature and Gaia and their intuition, because it is there for their survival, right? If a predator comes or if prey comes, right? It's how they sense, like, oh, there's something there, I need to eat, I'm hungry, I'm gonna hunt it. Or I sense something's trying to hunt me, I need to get out of here for my safety, right? I live in a nature preserve, so one of my favorite things to do is kind of like sit outside and connect with nature. And I just really enjoy watching different animals, squirrels, birds, raccoon, all of it, right? We have bears, we have all kinds of things. And you can learn a lot by watching the animals and how their instincts work and how they, right? My cat the other day blew my mind, caught a mouse in my garden. The mouse is fine, thank goodness. We got us on humane catch and release, don't we, bub? He doesn't love it, but mommy has him on catch and release. So as soon as it happened, I said, buddy, no, you gotta let it go. You gotta let it go. And of course he tried to bring it in the house, but I had shut the door so he couldn't get in the house. So he then dropped it and it hobbled off on its way. It was fine. But what I was gonna say that was so fascinating was this mouse was in this lemongrass bush, okay? He was standing probably like 5 feet in front of this bush. It's not really a bush, it's lemongrass, it's like grassy bunch. He was standing probably like 5 feet in front of it. He was facing the front. His back this is the lemongrass. He was here. His back was to the lemongrass. Okay? Ooh, actually look. Ooh, we have a perfect visual aid. Okay? Yes. Oh my gosh, this is so funny. And what's even funnier is I was guided to light lemongrass incense. And I was like, that's odd. I already used all the sprays to clear the energy. But now I understand why. Because I'm telling this lemongrass story, which I did not plan on doing. Anyway, okay. Let's say this is my cat. This is the lemongrass. Okay? He was like out here. I saw him out of nowhere, barely moved. He just tilted his head, right? Like to the side. And I noticed, oh, he hears something. Because just the way he tilted his head, right? And he stayed very still and stealthy. And then just the back, his little back tail, just the little back of it just really barely started moving. And I noticed, because I'm observant, and I like to watch the animals, right? And so I thought to myself, oh, and I know that there are some mice living in my garden. For the most part, they live out there and don't bother us, and we don't bother them, and we all get along fine, right? So, and I try never to disturb the ecosystem because I do live in a natural preserve. So, I've known the mice were out there. Whenever I take the cats out in the yard, I'm very conscious. I go over and I like shake the lemongrass where they're living underneath so that they go hide in their burrows, right? And occasionally, though, there's a brave one that just won't go hide. And they like to stay out and try to, this is not the first time. It's like they try to taunt the cats and I don't know. Anyway, they're playing, I guess. Anywho, so he just tilted his head barely, right? And I noticed, and all of this, I'm spreading it out, but all this happened in like a very, like 60 seconds, right? He tilted his head, his tail barely moved. He, I'm not kidding, jumped straight up, turned around, jumped in the lemongrass. I heard the mouse, a little squeak, and I was like, oh. And then he came walking out with it in his mouth, all proud of himself like a lion. He walks out like a lion. Then I was like, oh my goodness, bub, right? But that's the point I'm trying to make. You already know, he released it. The mouse went on its way, everybody's fine. Cat is fine, mouse was fine. There was no blood even. So I don't even think, cats have an ability, they call it soft mouthing, where when they catch something, they catch it softly because they don't want to kill it immediately. Cats kind of like to play around with it before they eat it. So he soft-mouthed this mouse, and mouse's bones are also very pliable. That's how they can squeeze into little tight spaces and holes. So everyone was fine, but I was like, wow, I noticed, and I thought, and I even told I was telling my girlfriend the story, and I said, what it made me realize was it was like he wasn't even looking, right? He was facing forward, and he heard a noise, and within a 60-second period, he heard the noise, tilted his head, adjusted his body, jumped, caught that mouse, and walked out. So he wasn't even looking at what he was chasing, right? So his instinct, and I was just saying, how amazing is that he was hunting and operating on some weird, like, sound geolocation skill or compass that's like a natural instinct, right? Because he was not even facing the lemongrass. So it wasn't that he saw the mouse and saw where it was. He heard it and was able to locate where it was based on the sound. And then he jumped quietly and expertly and grabbed that thing in his mouth and just walked out like it was nothing. Like, honestly, like it was the easiest thing he'd ever attempted. And I was just like flabbergasted because I was like, holy crap, that's so cool, right? To see an animal's instincts at work. Especially, it's even more cool that no one was harmed. And the mouse ran off on his way, and the cat came inside, and then we were all fine, right? And of course, there is a circle of life. So, what happens, but in nature. But that's what I was pointing out when I was talking about those big storms, when my parents are here. And sometimes you don't even expect it. You'll just be sitting here and there will be such a loud thunder or lightning crack that it like makes you jump out of your seat because you aren't expecting it, right? And so it happens occasionally when my parents are visiting. And this one time we had a real bad one, and it happened just like that, out of nowhere. And my mom really started to get worried because she was like, this is a violent storm. Should we be concerned about tornadoes? Should we go, shelter? Like, what do we do? And I said to her, we were all sitting in my living room watching a movie, and I said to her, you see the cats? Because one cat was like laying in his little bed over here on the bench, and one cat was like just laying on the end of the chair over there that I was sitting in. I had the end up and it was on the end. And both of them were just sound asleep and sleeping through the violence of this storm. And I said, do you see the cats? And she's like, yeah. And I said, you see how they're just sleeping and they're not concerned at all? And she's like, yeah. And I said, we're fine as long as they stay like that. When they jump up and go run to get under a bed and find shelter, that's how we know we also need to go find shelter, right? Or hunker down. Because animals have very good instincts and they would be living out in nature. So they would know from their instincts and their connection, I need to, and there have been a few times where we've had some storms and both of my cats instantly jumped up and ran under the bed. And then I knew, like, okay, there's a tornado in the area, or this is whatever it was, whatever was happening, right? And so I got into it. I was like, I better go get into the closet because and a few readings ago, that's what my guides had said. They were saying, watch the animals, right? There's a lot of intense energy in it. There's going to be a lot of intense things happening over the next several years because we're moving into this like change and transition phase, okay? And they were kind of saying to me, watch the animals for guidance, right? So if the animals aren't in a panic or fleeing for their lives, then you're okay, right? If the animals start fleeing an area, that's another thing. Like, I watched this documentary once where they were talking about like tsunamis, and they were saying before a tsunami comes, all the animals leave that area like 24 hours before because they can sense through the ground and their electromagnetic connections that this tsunami is coming, right? Because of like the disturbances in the energy, and so they can tell when something's coming from far away, like a tornado, like a tsunami, whatever it is, right? So earthquake, same thing. They were saying in the movie, same thing. There have been places where there were earthquakes and like 24 hours before, all the animals disappear from the area. Well, that's because the animals know something's happening, and if I want to continue to survive, I have to listen to this instinct, right? So we have a lot of stuff coming, and we're going to talk about a lot of stuff in this video, okay? This is going to be a long one. You might want to watch it more than once or in 2 parts, because there's going to be a lot going on, a lot of transitioning happening, a lot of adaptation, a lot of humans and the systems around us starting to evolve, okay, and change. And as wonderful as that is, because for me, it's very wonderful and exciting. I feel like I've been waiting 20 years for humans to like, come on, let's grow, let's evolve, let's be better. And it's finally happening. But it's not going to happen overnight, and it's not going to happen without growing pains. Because one thing we have to remember, there are a lot more people on the planet waking up, doing their work, connecting to themselves, their souls, their purpose, okay? That's all great things. But there will always be people on the planet that don't want to do the work, that don't want to evolve, that don't want to grow, that are just stuck in low vibrational loops, and they're okay with that. And you know what? And that's okay, because some people's soul contract is to not wake up, right? We have more than one, we have multiple lives because our energies recycle. So some lives we're not meant to wake up, right? In some life, like I've had a life in the past that I know of that I was not meant to wake up. The whole life was stuck in the low vibrational loops, right? Because I wasn't learning the lessons, right? And I wasn't choosing to be the best version of myself. And so in that lifetime, I was not meant to wake up, okay? Because I needed to go through a bunch of things to learn and grow and to, be able to come back in the next life and work on more things and build on that, right? So we have to keep that in mind. Yes, humans are going to grow and evolve and transform, and we are going to start to create a more harmonious world, with systems that work for everybody in the collective, not just the people that agree with you, okay? Because that's one thing we have to talk about, is that our systems are going to start adapting and changing and transforming, and they're going to start adjusting to better accommodate all of the people that are now in the collective, right? When these systems were created thousands of years ago, there weren't as many humans, number one, and it wasn't as diverse, like as far as it was, but it was separated, right? People were separated into groups. Now, people have mingled and everything's more diverse, And so there's not so much separation, which is a good thing, right? But that's a bad thing because our systems, especially in the United States here, were really set up by rich white men to only benefit rich white men, right? So the part of the reason why there's so much chaos in the United States right now is because the systems that are in place aren't working for everyone, right? They're only working for a small group of people. So we have to remember that as things change and evolve and adapt to fit what we're living now, to fit the modern collective, the modern human, okay? As that's happening, we have to remind ourselves that it's a good thing. And those changes and adaptations are going to happen, but they're not just happening for you, right? So things aren't just going to adapt and change to make you more comfortable or to make me more comfortable, right? Or to make one group of people more comfortable. What's going to happen is all this stuff is going to start adapting and changing so that it better fits every situation we have in the collective. All right? That means even the people you disagree with, even the people who don't believe the same as you, right? We all have to exist here together, and we're all going to have different beliefs and different cultures and different behaviors and different ideas of what we think right is and wrong is, etc. Okay? But we have to remember that, like, the whole world does not revolve around us as an individual. Everything does not exist just for me as an individual to have the most comfortable experience I want to have. That's not what it is, right? We're in a school and everybody has to deal with the rules, deal with the curriculum, adjust, and try to be the best version of ourselves despite all those external things, right? So we need to start getting used to the idea and reconciling the idea that I'm never going to live in a society that gives me 100% what I want. And that goes for everyone, right? No group is going to get 100% what they want. And no group is going to get 100% not what they want, right? So that's where compromise comes in, and compassion and empathy and understanding, right? So we as humans have to do a lot of work on ourselves individually so that we can grow as a collective and we can make these better systems and we can make these adjustments without a whole lot of chaos, right? So we need to be working on ourselves first, and then we can start changing and adjusting the systems. And what's even better is the systems are going to start adjusting and changing on their own as people are doing the work. Okay? And I have a bunch of cards here, you can probably see. I have crystals everywhere. And I have a malachite here. And I don't know if you can see, but it's kind of shaped like a heart. And the whole time I've been talking, it's been sitting here looking at me. And what my brain has been saying is the only way these changes and adaptations to the systems are going to happen is if we all, as humans, drop into our heart space and start living and acting from our heart space, right? Okay, so let's get talking about my notes here. So what I wrote from June until November, okay, we've already talked about that. We have all this new energy coming in. And the first thing I took note of, because this is like the theme between now and November of the energy. Humans must take responsibility for themselves, their behavior, their actions, their patterns, etc. Okay? For the last 5 years or so, we've been in this energy, and you can tell by just being observant and looking around at the collective, right? No matter where you are in the world. We've kind of been in this energy around the world of humans being very much like in a trauma state, right? In that triggered trauma state. I'm triggered. I have trauma. I've never been taught any tools to deal with or heal this trauma. It's hurting me. I don't know what to do about it. So I'm going to voice it out to everyone to hear, right? And just, observe and think about what's been happening in society over the last 5 years, right? Around the globe. There's been tons of protests, right? There's been tons of people fighting and standing up for their rights. In lots of places, America included, people's rights are getting taken away in certain aspects, okay? So we're having a rising up. The last 5 years has kind of been like this revolutionary energy, this rising up. Humans feeling like, I need to be heard. I've been ignored for too long. I've been oppressed, repressed, set aside, ignored. I have pain. You need to hear my pain. You need to validate me, right? That's what's been happening in all humans on an individual level and on a large scale, right? And what's happening now, though, with all this new energy coming in, after 5 years of that, everybody's tired, right? It's tiring, all of that. Constantly fighting, being in that fight, flight, or flee, constantly fighting for your rights, standing up for yourself. It's exhausting. It can be very exhausting. So what's happening now is after 5 years of that, humans are feeling like, I don't have that much left, right? I've gotten it all out. Every bit of angst and frustration and pain and hurt and sadness and trauma, right? I've been spewing this out into the collective all over everyone else for the last 5 years. And now I'm running out of steam. And I'm starting to look around and realize nothing's different. And I don't feel any better, right? I've spent all this time getting all these feelings out and demanding, I be heard, I want to be heard, I want to be validated, okay? And then what's happening now is the humans are realizing, I've gotten it all out, I've said everything, I've shared my pain, I've been vulnerable, I've bared it all for the world, and in some cases for the world to see, right? Because there have been some instances in the last 5 years that were like global collective moments. So now we're sitting in June and all this new energy is coming in. And there's more of it coming in a couple days on the full moon, which is the 3rd. And there's a video on that as well, so watch it because it goes in hand with this one. So now everyone's a little tired, a little less angry, a little more frustrated, right? And people are realizing, I don't feel any better. I don't know if people listened. I don't know if, because there's a difference between listening and hearing. You can hear somebody talking and not really be listening to the words they're saying, right? So that has happened a lot over the last 5 years too. A lot of groups of people are like, this is what's happening and we feel marginalized and this is how we feel. And then there are other groups, they're like, well, I feel that way too, and that issue is not my fault, and so I can't hear what you're saying because I'm so wrapped up in my own problems, right? That's been going on all over the globe, right? I can't help you or hear you because I can't help or hear myself, right? That's kind of where we've been at, and that's why things have just been in this chaotic loop for like the last 5 years. And if you pay attention to what's happening in the collective, we are on the precipice of either evolving and getting out of that loop and evolving forward, or continuing that cycle one more time, right? You can just tell there's a lot of things in the collective that are repeating themselves, right? There's a lot of stuff happening right now that was happening in like 2015, 14, 15, 16. And now it's like, are we just going to repeat that over again as humans, right? We're kind of at this decision point. So all this new energy is flooding into us, and it's going to last between now and November. And what this energy is going to do is it's going to kind of shake up all the humans, right? Everybody's feeling frustrated, right? Feeling tired, feeling like, but I told everybody the problems and nothing is different and I don't feel different and the world has not changed, right? So now what's happening is the energy is waking humans up and shaking us a little bit and making us realize that nothing will change until you be the change, right? So that's what's happening. Between June and November, the energy is not letting you duck and hide anymore. If you're not facing your shadow and trying to heal and deal with your trauma and your shadow elements, you're gonna have a rough time of it from this point forward in life, because we've started a new cycle. So from now for the next 5 years, we're gonna be in a cycle of adaptation, transformation, evolution, revolution. All right? So if you're still ignoring your own traumas, your own shadows, your own bad behaviors and things that hold you back and undermine your life, you're gonna continue to struggle and get caught in that low vibration loop. Because I told you guys in April, they gave us a couple of months to adjust. They started telling us in April, the guides started telling us in April, we're moving into a time of grow or go. If you don't grow, if you don't change, if you don't evolve, you're out. You're just gonna be stuck in that low vibration loop. It's grow or go. Either you grow, evolve, and change and grow forward, or you stay behind and you stuck in that loop, okay? So just like I said a second ago, right? For the people that are awakening and evolving and growing, we still have to live here on the same planet with those people that are refusing, right? The people that are like, I know, it's long overdue that I work on myself, but I'm just not going to, right? Those people aren't gonna go away. We're not gonna be living in two separate earths. Okay, that's not how it's gonna work. We still have to figure out how to get along and live harmoniously with the people that are refusing to do their work, right? And the systems and everything are gonna adapt, adjust, and change to help humans on the bigger level, right? On the big picture level. So those people refusing to do their work are also gonna be affecting how our systems work, just like the people who are doing the work. So you just have to decide, am I gonna be one of the people who's holding humans back and who's undermining my own life and self-sabotaging and just never growing? Or am I gonna rise up? Am I gonna rise to the occasion and I'm gonna see what I'm made of and I'm gonna dig down deep and I'm gonna face myself, I'm gonna face my problems, I'm gonna face my whatever it is, my addictions, my financial issues, my trauma, I could sit here and just list things out all day long, right? Because we all humans have tons and tons of problems. We all do. There's no human that is immune. There is no human that has no problems. That does not exist. So now we're kind of at this choice point. Either you need to be the change you want to see in the world, or you're just going to be stuck in the chaos loop. It's a choice. That's it. We all have choices. We make millions of choices every single day. I know you don't think you do, but you do. Even just like I was talking about how when my cat was out there and caught the mouse, right? I was doing chores around the yard. And in that moment that started happening, I had a choice to ignore what he was doing and continue what I was doing, or to stop and observe. And I chose to stop and observe, right? So in every second of our day, of our life, we're constantly making choices. And we're responsible. We have to take responsibility for the choices we make. And sometimes choices lead us down into a ditch, okay? I mean, I'll be the first to say, I've made lots of choices in my 48 years, and not all of them have been good choices. But that's how you learn, right? Sometimes, my therapist said to me once, which I thought was brilliant, sometimes you have to make all the wrong choices so that you know what the right ones are, right? Like, you may not know that you're making a wrong choice because you've never had that experience. So you have to make that choice and go through that trauma and go through that stress so that then you're like, oh, now I know. Now I know the next time I'm faced with this choice to not take this choice, because now I know it's a choice of chaos, right? And so then that's how you learn and grow. Some people learn and grow, some people don't. Some people have to make the same choice over and over and over again, and they still don't learn. Some people make the choice one time and get it, right? I always say, I grew up in the 80s. In the 80s, spanking was still a thing. And my brother and I were not abused by any stretch of the imagination. But occasionally, if we did something real bad, we got spanked. And I only got spanked one time in my life because that was enough. I got spanked one time. I didn't like it. I was like, well, I'm going to follow the rules from now on because I didn't want that. My brother was the opposite, right? He was the personality that was like, oh, you're going to tell me no? Then I'm going to do it right in front of you so that you know you can't control me, right? So he had like probably 10 spankings over the course of his life because he was always testing the boundaries and always like, and not me. I learned the first time. I was like, I did not like getting spanked. I will just follow the rules until I'm an adult. And then when I'm on my own, I'll try all the things my parents said no to, right? My brother was the opposite. He was like, you're not going to tell me no. I'm going to do it right here in front of you. And so he was always getting grounded or scolded or spanked, right? Because he didn't learn the lesson on the first try. And that's okay. It doesn't mean one of us is better or worse. It's just we're two different humans on two different paths, and we have two different energy signatures. And my energy signature only takes one or two times to learn the lesson. His energy signature, sometimes he doesn't learn the lesson. Sometimes he learns it after 5 times. Sometimes, there's still a couple of things he does, and we're grown adults. So, and I tease him because I'm like, you didn't learn that yet? Just because it's like, but this is how it is, right? It's not good, it's not bad. Okay, so, all right, so the energy coming in is lasting till November, right? We already talked about that. Humans, it is time for humans to take responsibility. We need to face our shadow. We need to take responsibility for it. We need to start working on ourselves. We need to start trying to be the change we want to see in the world. Because the world, I got news for you people, the world and our systems will not evolve, adjust, and change if all of the humans are just sitting around waiting for somebody else to do it, right? Like, it's up to us. It's up to those of us healing and trying to do the work, right? We have to be the ones. We have to be the leaders. We have to step up and try to show everybody else, look, it's not that scary. You can face your traumas. You can heal. You'll feel better, right? Okay, so this energy also, we've also been talking about from April, all the videos from April to May. You can go back and watch and see that we've been talking a lot about making integrated decisions, right? Using our mind, body, soul in every decision we make. And now it's time to put that more into practice than ever before, okay? This energy from June to November is pulling our intuitive self forward. Our intuitive self, which is our soul, okay, is supposed to be leading now. Soul, mind, and body will line up behind it, okay? So instead of leading with the physical body or the mental mind, we need to be leading with our soul, with our gut. And then, we first ask ourselves, how do I feel about this decision? How does my soul feel about this? Does it make me sick to my stomach? Does it make me feel like there's growth here, right? Like, you can know. Here's a perfect example. Like today on the news, they were brought up again how Bill Cosby has another person accusing him of the R word. And immediately I felt gross inside, right? That's my intuition immediately saying, I don't feel good about this guy. So don't make any decisions that have anything to do with this guy, right? So I'm just saying, usually your intuition is there always alerting you to things. Most of the time we're just ignoring it. So it is time for us to pull that intuitive self to the forefront, okay? We also need to remember all this new energy flooding in. Some humans can sense it happening, okay? I'm one of those humans, but I understand what's going on because I talk to my guides about it, right? So it doesn't freak me out too much. But earlier, right, I was talking about how people are going to start to feel this energy shifting and changing, but they're not going to fully understand it, and it's going to make you want at first to fight, flight, or flee. Okay? But don't. Nothing is wrong. It's just that this is new energy and it's intense, and we're not as humans used to feeling it. Okay? So if you start feeling in June this fight, flight, or flee, you just need to remind yourself, nothing is wrong, okay? Nothing is wrong. This is my nervous system trying to transmute and integrate all this new higher vibration energy that I'm not used to, all right? Try not to get swept up into the fight, flight, or flee, okay? Because honestly, this energy is going to be really good for humanity in the long run. It's going to be challenging, but it's going to be good for us in the long run. So we need to not panic, not run away, right? It's time for us to ground. We're going to want to do constant grounding in June. One of my guides knows I love chocolate, and so it's funny because when I was making these notes, one of my guides was like, you're going to be so happy about this. Eat as much chocolate as you want in June. And I was like, whoa, yeah, baby, right? Because chocolate can pull you right back into your body, right? The sensations, the tastes, the silkiness on your tongue, the sugar rush. So it can be very grounded. So if you're struggling, if you're feeling like you want to fight, flight, or flee, get some chocolate, ground, go outside, sit barefoot with your feet in the ground for at least 20 minutes, right? It takes at least 20 minutes to balance out and make that electromagnetic field symbiotic relationship. Barefoot, okay? The shoes, like we have rubber soles nowadays, we have tires on our cars. Like humans do not get enough electromagnetic grounding to the earth because we've put all this rubber everywhere, which stops that connection from happening. It grounds you so that that connection doesn't happen. So we need to be doing a lot of grounding this month, okay? We're gonna feel, okay, for the last couple of months, there's been like this, like, let's get it done energy, right? Let's get it done. Let's make a list. Let's get on it. And I've been saying all through April and May, do not get swept up by that energy, right? Do not. Well, guess what? Good news. It's time. Now you can let that get it done energy sweep you up, because we want that get it done energy to help us so we can start acting, right? And we can start doing, what did I say earlier? Being the change we want to see in the world, right? Because if we're not doing it, if we're not showing up every day in the world as our best self, nobody else is going to show up for us as our best self. And the more, you'd be surprised, the more people that have the courage to show up in alignment as they're the best version of themselves, that will inspire other people to do it. Okay? And then when you have more and more people publicly being the change they want to see in the world, that's when change actually starts happening, right? That's when systems start adjusting. That's when, I mean, think about it. All the protests and things that happened in America over 2020, that did create change in some states. All of the protesting and marching and fighting that went into gay marriage that made a difference, right? It took years, but that action energy eventually turned into change, okay? So we just have to remember that. Now is time for us to get swept up in this get it done energy, because now is the time. We're being called. We're being called to live and act on a daily basis as the best version of ourselves, to do our shadow work on a daily basis, even when it's hard. Sometimes we have to push through that resistance to get to what the good stuff is on the other side, right? And you don't want to get almost there and then just give up because it's like, well, too hard. I mean, right? Living in chaos is harder, trust me. Trust me. And I get it. We all get addicted to the darkness, to the chaos. It's happened to me before, because there's that whole saying, better the devil you know than the devil you don't, right? Well, I mean, to me, there's a lot of people that would rather not change, because I know what this is like, right? I know what it's like to be stuck in my addiction or my depression or my anger or my codependency, whatever it is. I know what that's like, so I'm just going to keep doing that because I know what to expect. I'm afraid of the unknown. But what usually happens is after you do it, the unknown, then you're like, my God, why didn't I do this sooner? Like, that's what happened to me. I was like, my God, why didn't I do this sooner? Right? Okay, we're moving into, we already talked about our intuition needs to lead. It's going to be a very creative phase between now and November. The energy is ripe for creativity, because that's how we're going to rewrite and restructure the rules, right? We want things to change and adapt and adjust and work better for the humans that are here in modern times, right? Well, we're not going to get there without being creative, without being innovative. Okay, so from June until November, the energy's flooding in to help support us in doing that. All right. I wrote, it is time. We need to rewrite the rules, because the new rules we will create will support the collective. We need to start being a voice for change. Okay? But then I also wrote, beware. Don't do this from your ego, right? We're going to do it where? We're going to do it from our heart. Okay? Don't do it from your ego. Do it from your heart. There's going to be new boundaries being set. New foundations are going to be starting to be laid, because I said recently to somebody, because she was like complaining, like, I hate my job. This is like the third job in a row I've had that I hate. I constantly feel underappreciated, blah, 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 you know, there's a whole list of things. And like we all have, right? I'm telling this story to help us, not to make anybody feel bad if you're in that state, because trust me, I've been there. But so we were talking, and I was saying, like, look, if you're noticing that you're just repeating a pattern over and over again, that's the universe calling you to address that, right? To address whatever it is, to face it, to deal with it, to heal it, so that you don't just keep repeating it. And she goes, I know, but why can't, you know, like basically kind of like, why can't, like I basically was saying, you have to start working on yourself and healing yourself before the universe will start flowing all those successes you want into you. And she was like, why? I don't understand why that is. And I said, because the universe is not going to build a house on a rocky, unstable foundation, right? It's up to us as humans to heal to take responsibility for ourselves, to heal and work on our issues, to try to grow and change and evolve. And when we do those things, that creates a solid foundation. We've talked a lot about this on this channel, because without your solid foundation, you can't do anything, okay? You will constantly be pulled out of alignment. You will constantly be wobbling and back into chaos if you do not have a stable foundation, right? And the universe is not going to flow in success and abundance and prosperity and joy and love and all those things to you until you have a solid foundation. Because all of those things I just mentioned, okay, wealth, money, happiness, joy, abundance, prosperity, love, connection, all of those things are the house, right? When you have all those things, your house is built. If your foundation is rocky and unstable, the house is just going to fall down, right? So the universe is not going to build a house on a rocky foundation. So we have to meet the universe halfway on everything, right? And our way of meeting the universe halfway is building that foundation, getting that foundation laid, building it, keeping it strong, keeping all of the cracks puttied and fixed and not letting any mold get in, right? That's our part of the deal. And if we can do that, if we can do our shadow work, go to therapy, heal ourselves, stay in alignment, show up for ourselves and for other people as the best version of ourselves, then we have a solid foundation. Then the universe will start flowing in all of the things that will build the walls, that will bring in furniture, that will create the stairs, right? So the reason why you can't have the job you love or the relationship you want or the wealth you're chasing is because if that stuff's not flowing into you, you're neglecting something in the foundation, because the universe will not build a house on a rocky or unstable foundation. Period. Dot. Okay? So that's something to keep in mind. Doing the work is keeping your foundation in solid, strong order so that the rest of the house can be built and stand sturdily. Okay? Now, this new energy coming in is also going to be about doing the right thing. Okay? And it's not in the old ways of doing the right thing, right? There used to be all kinds of like conformity rules. Like the right thing is this, dress appropriately every day, do your hair, wear makeup, don't talk back, don't cuss, whatever. This new energy is not about do the right thing in the old way by following all the rules. It's about do the right thing that keeps things in alignment. Okay? Do the right thing to keep you spiritual healthy, emotional healthy, mentally healthy, physically healthy. Okay? That's where we're at now. Doing the right thing is doing the right thing for myself so that I can show up as the best version of myself every single day to the world, to the people around me, to my family, to my kids, to my friends, to my job, whatever it is, right? If you can't show up as the best version of yourself on a daily basis, then your foundation needs to be worked on, right? Now, I have questions here because I can already hear it. As I said that, your foundation needs to be worked on, I heard, well, I don't know how to do that. How are we supposed to do that? So somebody watching is talking to me, okay? And it's fine. I'm going to tell you how we do that, all right? That's why I said this video is going to be a long one. Let me just clear my energy again. I'm feeling the need to do that. Okay. So, there are things we can do to help start the healing journey, right? To help starting, because you can't work on your foundation, right, until you know everything that's wrong. Period. Right? And let me note by saying, let me also just check. I just want to check and see where we're at time-wise. Okay, not too bad. Okay, so basically, looking at your foundation is the first step. without judgment, without blame, without negative self-talk. Okay? This first part, it's not always easy to face, the worst qualities or patterns or behaviors about ourselves. But trust me, it's always worth it. Okay? So I understand it's not easy. I understand that it's like this, and this does not happen overnight, right? So basically, they gave me 7 questions here that we're going to talk about. And they said, from now until November, this is what humans need to work on. Okay? So, what is it? It is now June. There are 6, June, July, August, September, October, November, December. Interesting. That's what I thought. There are 7 months left to this year. There are 7 questions here. So basically what I just heard is if you really want to work on healing and getting a solid foundation so that you can start growing and moving forward and be part of the change you want to see in the world, right? We're going to take these 7 questions. You're going to focus on 1 question a month for the next 7 months. And you're going to work hard. Like in June, it'll be this first question. And you're going to work hard to figure out the answers for you, right? So what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to journal. You're going to, sometimes even, I will just put my phone up sometimes and just film myself talking, and then I'll re-watch it, and it helps me like reflect on like, oh man, my thinking's a little skewed there, right? I also, you guys know I talk about it all the time, I am a big fan of therapy, so I recommend everyone get into therapy, because that's another way that you can work on and investigate and dive into these questions. So let's just, before I start talking about the questions, we're going to talk about the crystals. Okay? These 3 crystals will be helpful to navigate these energies between now and, let's say, the end of the year. Okay? Because we got 7 questions, 7 months. We're going to need these crystals throughout to be supportive. And what I thought was interesting, the crystals are smoky quartz, okay, lepidolite, selenite. Okay, I made myself a bracelet with all 3 of them. So that's something you can do. Order the crystals, be careful, you can get fakes, so make sure you're getting from a reputable place and you're getting genuine gemstones. And, I'm just going to wear this between now and the end of the year because they said these 3 crystals are going to help transmute this energy. It's going to help us deal with some of this high intense energy coming in, right? Okay, now what I found interesting when I pulled the cards, they came out like this, and I just think it's interesting the saying for each crystal, okay? Fall apart, breathe in your trueness, sacred center. So what this tells me is, like I told you, it's going to be rough, especially if you're already on your spiritual path and growth journey, self-growth journey, self-awareness, self-growth, evolution, all of that. If you've been on this journey for a while, you're going to be okay. I mean, you're probably not going to have as rough of a time because you've already been doing this work for a while. If you've been doing this work for like 3+ years, it's probably not going to be as rough for you. But if you just started doing this work, or you've not been doing this work at all and you're feeling called to start doing it, it's going to be a little bit rough, right? Because you've been ignoring things that have been coming up, right? I had a conversation with somebody recently, and I said, she was telling me about her situation, and I said, I hope you please don't get triggered by this. I said, but one of the things I'm noticing is this is like literally in the last year, you've told me the same story 4 times with a different person, right? So it's like she's repeating the same pattern with the people in her friend group, and she didn't even realize she was repeating it, right? And so I was just saying to her, like, I said, look, this is just going to keep happening, because she was like, I don't like this. Why does this keep happening? I don't want it to, And I just said to her, look, the truth of the matter is, until you address whatever it is about you that's making this, like, I was like, you're going to have to look at all these situations that have happened, these 4 situations with these 4 different people that have happened pretty identically. You're going to have to sit and evaluate your part in it, right? What role did you play? What could maybe you be doing to be contributing? Because, right, we all contribute. You can't deal with another human and it only be the other human's issue, the other human's fault. That's not how it works. Any issue that's happening between humans, both people are equally responsible and have to take responsibility for their part in whatever it is, right? So that's what I told her. I was like, this is going to be hard, but you have to look at yourself. You have to look in the mirror and try to figure out, what is it I'm doing? Because she said, like, why is everyone always running away from me? And I was like, well, you must be doing something. Or the universe is trying to tell you, stop looking. Like, basically, we all look for things in other people, right? Comfort, love, nurturing. And sometimes the universe will call you to give it to yourself, right? So that's basically what I told her. I said, what I feel like is happening based on just the stories you've told me is the universe is trying to get you to look inside yourself for whatever it is you're looking for. You're looking for something from these people. And then when you don't get it, or they can't give it to you, right? Because they may sense like, oh, she's looking for nurturing from me, or love, or comfort, or healing, whatever it is. And then they may feel like, I can't give that to them, or I'm not healed enough myself to be nurturing you. I need to nurture myself, right? So then they run away from her, or they are like, I can't be your friend anymore because I can't, you're too much, or you're too, whatever it is, right? You're too needy, or you're too angry, or you're too, whatever. Fill in the blank, right? And so I was just saying that, like, sometimes the universe, like, if the same thing happens over and over and over again, that is a sign. And the universe is trying to tell you, stop trying to find this in everyone else. Look within to get it, right? Because that's why no one else is giving it to you, right? And every time you're trying to get it from someone, that person either has a fight with you or ignores you or whatever it is, right? And I said, that's because the universe is not letting that person give you what you're asking for, because they want you to find it within. Sometimes you have to look within yourself and nurture yourself, comfort yourself, love yourself. Because if you don't have a good relationship with yourself first, it's going to be hard to have healthy relationships with other people, right? And it goes back to what I was saying with this foundation thing. Like, if you don't love and nurture and care and heal yourself, then your foundation is going to be rocky and unstable, because you can't expect other people to do those things for you. You have to do them for yourself, right? So this is what I'm thinking, because these cards came out like this: fall apart, breathe in your trueness, sacred center. So to me, what this is saying is these 3 crystals are going to help you for the next 7 months, because what's going to start happening to not everyone, but a lot of people that have not really been doing their work or are just starting to get serious about it, things are going to be falling apart. It's going to feel like, oh my God, everything's falling apart around me. Nothing's working out in my favor. Why does this keep happening, right? And then it's calling you to stop, connect. What was I saying? pull your intuitive self forward, connect to your intuitive self, breathe in your trueness, okay? Get to know yourself. Have a relationship with yourself. Date yourself. Get to know it. Who am I? What is it I want out of life? Who do I want to be? Right? Because when you can do that, you will forever be centered, right? Then you will be living and breathing and moving balanced from your center. And then the foundation is a lot more solid. Okay, does that make sense? Okay, so now I wanted to bring this up because these things are going to help you. Also, also I would put the lepidolite and the selenite in your bed grid from now until the end of the year. Okay, if you do bed gridding. Or you can do like I said, you can get those crystals, make a bracelet, wear it, sleep in it, you'll be covered. Okay, now let's talk about the questions. Then we're gonna pull one card. I got a new deck. Okay, Oracle of the Radiant Sun. My guides have recently said to me, man, everybody gives a lot of attention to the moon. Why doesn't equal attention get given to the sun? And I was like, oh, interesting. Because they're right? We're always doing all kinds of moon readings and we're following the moon phases. So I was guided to get this deck. We're going to pull some sun energy here in a little bit after we talk about these questions, okay? Let me also just check my notes. Let's see. Okay, one cool thing I forgot to talk about is starting in January 2024, our world is going to be a better place for mental health issues, which I feel like is going to be great, okay? Our systems will really start adjusting and changing around mental health in January. That'll happen first. Between now and then, there's going to also be a lot of changes in our medical systems, in our legal systems. Any system we have created in this world, they're all going to start shifting and adjusting. The food systems, the medical systems, the legal systems, all of it. All right? So again, there's going to be a lot of change. It's going to be very important between now and the end of the year. Stay grounded. Do our work. Face ourselves, okay? We also need to start facing and reconciling, again, what I was talking about earlier, right? The shifts and changes that are going to start happening are going to be for everyone. What's going to happen is what's going to be best for the collective as a whole. So you need to start, we all, as people, need to start accepting and reconciling that we are going to always live on a planet with people that don't believe the same thing as us and don't always agree with us, right? We all have different beliefs. We all have different cultures. We all have different thoughts. We all have different experiences. It's time for us to start accepting each other and living in harmony instead of trying to force each other to conform and change. No one is right. No one is wrong, okay? We're all here to exist together. There is no right way to live or wrong way to live. We're all just having experiences to grow and evolve. And we need to stop projecting what we think onto the people around us, because that will not create a harmonious world. That will create a world full of more separation. I mean, look around. The last 5 years with everybody doing that, spewing, I don't agree with you. You need to do what I'm doing. I don't agree with you. You need to do what I'm doing. Look around. All that has done is create more chaos and more separation. So we need to start working on ourselves and also working on accepting the world does not revolve around us. We are here and have to learn to live and adjust in harmony with everything around us. It's not the other way around. It's not that we come to Earth and everything around on Earth needs to adjust to this one human. No. Okay? So we need to start changing and adjusting and going back to the way humans used to be, which was knowing there's a whole bunch of us. We are all different. We all have the same right to be here. And there's no reason to constantly be fighting about it. All right? We need to start accepting each other with compassion, with love. Let's see what else. All right, we talked about that. I just don't want to forget anything. All right. Okay. All right. Now, let's talk about real quick, one more thing. Between now and the end of the year, these 3 crystals, also lavender essential oils that can help. Lavender and bergamot together is a great mixture, or you can also mix bergamot, lime, and lang lang, or bergamot, grapefruit, and cinnamon bark. Okay, those are all essential oils. Also, something interesting I channeled through, which was the insect that will represent the energy for the next 7 months is the spider. Okay? And this is what I wrote. And I've always kind of had a fear of spiders, and I've really been trying to work on that. So I just thought it was amusing that that's what, I was like, oh, of course it's a spider. But this is what I wrote. Pay attention to the spider. And the funny thing is, I wrote all this, and then this morning I was out in my garden, and I went to reach to get something. And as I was leaning down, I realized there was a huge spider web and a big, beautiful spider in the middle of it. As I was leaning, I was like, whoa. I almost leaned my face right into it. And I was like, of course, it's right here in front of my face. And so I did. One of the things they had said to me was, spiders may show up in your dreams or in your environment. When that happens, show respect. Thank them. Honor them. They represent a fearless path of weaving your dreams into reality. Okay? Really cool, right? And so I just thought it was cool that literally I saw the whole web, this beautiful spider. I almost leaned my face right into it. And then I was like, oh my God. And so I did stop, and I gave thanks, gratitude. I gave honor. Okay? We're going to need our earth chakra the most this month. So again, I know I've said it a million times. I'm going to keep saying it. Ground, 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 ground. Eat chocolate if you're having trouble grounding. Get outside, get barefoot. There's lots of ways you can ground. Google it. Okay. Question 1. Right? We'll start question 1. This is the question we'll work on for June. Am I who I say I am? It's a good question to reflect on this month of June and ask yourself, am I who I say I am? Am I who I think I am? Am I who I want to be? Right? Am I showing up in the world with the image? Like, we all have an image of who we think we are, right? We have to ask ourselves, is the reality matching up to that image? Do I actually show up in the world as this image of who I think I am? Okay? That's the first question for June. The second question for July, am I walking my talk? Do I walk the talk? Right? Do I talk big and talk a big game and then not live my words? Am I a hypocrite? Do I say one thing and do another? Or do I back my words up? Do I live the way I say I live, right? Like here's a perfect example. I'm always doing these videos for you guys on why it's so important that we do the work. So I would be asking myself, am I doing the work? Am I just teaching all the people watching to do these things, but then I'm not doing them myself, right? That would make me a horrible teacher and a hypocrite, right? So I would ask myself, am I doing the stuff I'm asking the people who watch me to do? And luckily, I'm happy to say the answer to that is yes. I am walking my talk. But that's because I've been on this journey for years and years, like almost 20 years at this point. And it took me a long time and a lot of practice to get to that place, right? To where I am walking my talk. So yes, for me, I am walking my talk. But that's the question for July. The third question for August: am I hiding from something? Okay, am I being honest with myself about my situation, about my reality? Am I hiding from something? That could be anything, right? It could be an addiction, it could be a person. Maybe you had a conflict with somebody and you owe them an apology and you're hiding from doing it. That would qualify. Maybe you've had an addiction for a long time and you've been getting messages from your body and the universe that it's time to stop because your body can't take it anymore. Are you hiding from facing those facts, right? Are you being honest with yourself? Are you hiding from something? Okay, that's question 3 for August. Question 4 for September. Am I deluding myself or attaching to a fantasy world? Am I deluding myself or attaching to a fantasy world? Okay, that's easy. Like we were just saying, am I honest with myself? Well, if you're not honest with yourself, then you're probably living in a delusion or a fantasy world of some kind, right? You're pretending things are the way you wish they were, or you're wearing a mask to the people around you and you're pretending that things are the way you say they are, right? So that June, July, August is September's question. Am I deluding myself or attaching to a fantasy world? October's question, question number 5. Am I disconnected or disassociated from myself? That's for October, question 5. Am I disconnected or disassociated from myself? Okay, basically, we've been talking this whole video, right, about what? Connecting to your soul, connecting to your intuition. So if you are disconnected or disassociated from yourself, then October is the month to be working on that. All right, question 5, that was October. Question 6 for November. What is it you do in the physical world to keep your spiritual health maintained? Okay, this is for November, question 6. What is it you do in the physical world to keep your spiritual health maintained? If the answer is nothing, you better get on that and develop a spiritual care practice. Just like we have to have a physical body self-care practice, a mental body self-care practice, we also need to have a spiritual body self-care practice. Okay? You cannot have a strong foundation if you don't have good spiritual health, right? And having good spiritual health could just be getting outside once a day to walk in nature and connect to the earth. Okay, that is considered a spiritual practice. The spiritual practice does not have to include religion, but it can and does for some people, and that's okay. So do you go to a synagogue or a church or a temple or or just a place in the woods that you feel connected to and you feel you can connect to your ancestors and to a source energy and Gaia, right? Anything you do to connect to source energy, Gaia, and your own intuition is a spiritual practice, okay? So that is for November. Question 6. I'm going to say it one more time. What is it you do in the physical world to keep your spiritual health maintained? Okay? Question 7, the last question for December. What keeps you in alignment? What keeps you in alignment? What keeps you showing up as the best version of yourself every day, right? For me, I know what those things are, right? Self-care, therapy, exercise, eating properly, right? These are all things. Doing this work with you guys, okay? These are all things that keep me in alignment, that keep me showing up every day as the best version of myself. Okay, so that question, I'm going to repeat it. What keeps you in alignment? Record it, acknowledge it, honor it, put it into action every day. All right? Those are the 7 questions. I'm going to go through them again, 1 through 7, real quick, just as like a recap. You can pause the video and write them down if you want. This is a good thing to get everyone started from now until the end of the year, right? Especially if you're not already doing this work, if you don't already have some kind of a practice to heal yourself and do this work, this is a good time to start, and these are good questions to start with, okay? 1, am I who I say I am? 2, am I walking the talk? 3, am I hiding from something? 4, am I deluding myself or attaching to a fantasy world? 5, am I disconnected or disassociated from myself? 6, what is it you do in the physical world to keep your spiritual health maintained? And finally, 7, what keeps you in alignment? Record it, acknowledge it, honor it, put it into daily action. All right? Now, we're going to pull whatever wants to come out from this new deck. Spiritual team. Oops. I haven't even shuffled this thing. That was the first shuffle. That's why these cards are so stiff. So stiff. It's okay. We'll get you all broken in. Right? Sorry, I'm just setting the intention for this deck since it's brand new. Any messages? Manos. I don't know if we've talked about that before, but the Native Americans, right, had different names for the sun and moon. The moon was named Luna, right, because it's feminine energy. The sun was named Manos, masculine energy. Okay, so I already saw patience was trying to come out. But again, this is a new deck. I'm trying to get it shuffled good. Okay. All right, Manos, do you have any messages for those watching on the energy from June till end of year? Any messages? What would you like those of us watching to know. Any messages from the sun? Maybe. There it is. I felt it coming. I felt it coming. All right. Ooh, loss. Card number 12. That's interesting. Okay, right away what I'm hearing is to grow. Sometimes we have to lose some people in our lives. We have to let go of people and situations, and we have to grieve those people and situations in order for us to move forward and grow. Okay, also I'm hearing, I did a video in April, and it was actually in the title, a reason, a season, a lifetime. They're referencing that video because that video talks about how not all people come into our life forever, right? Some people just come into our life for a reason, to teach us something. Some people come for a season to teach us something. And then others come for a lifetime to teach us many things, right? So I feel like the message, we're going to read from the book, obviously, but I feel like what's coming through strongly right now is sometimes we have to experience loss to grow. And that's okay. And we just have to grieve whatever it is and then heal and move forward, right? Okay, card number 12, loss. Let's see what we got here in the book. Oh. All right, let's find it here. Because hold on. All right. So see this, interesting. So this deck is, see, it's like Saturn, the suit of ambition. And then, so it's separated into, and then there was one over here. Yeah, Jupiter, the suit of gain. Okay, so let's see, we gotta find where loss fits in here. Oh yeah, loss. Okay, Saturn, the suit of ambition. Okay, loss. It says Saturn, ambitious. Saturn in Pisces. Saturn is ambitious. Pisces is understanding, sympathetic, and sacrificing. Okay, it says, much of the Saturn Piscean potential for self-discipline and responsibility is invested in helping other people with problems. The sensitivity of people with this planet/sign combination can make it difficult for them not to become involved in helping people in some way. Saturn Pisceans have a strong insight into the motivations of those around them, but should be careful that they don't lose their own identity when faced with other people's demands. Okay? So this is basically telling us that between now and the end of the year, while we're trying to do this healing, we need to be focusing on ourselves, not the external, not the people around us. If anybody around us is making demands on us, now is not the time. Now is the time to set boundaries, I'm hearing. Okay? It says, don't lose your own identity when faced with other people's demands. Excessive imagination and excessive sympathy can create problems that don't really exist. You must remember other people's sadness, sorrows, and losses are their own. Often, Saturn Pisceans feel the desire or need to work in seclusion or retreat from the world in some way. It may be that they will be attracted to the study of the deeper processes in the unconscious mind and in such interests as psychology. But watch, there is room for an excessive tendency to compulsively become obsessional. So basically it's saying, remember how earlier in my notes I had written, beware, don't let the ego take over, right? When you're doing all this healing, this card is saying the same thing, basically. It's basically saying, do not let the ego come in there and sabotage you. Do not let the ego make you look too much to the external and try to fix the people around you. Do not let the ego make you become overly obsessed with a situation. Okay? It is better to look inwards than looking outwards towards others. This card indicates a loss of some kind. And it's also urging you that it's worth thinking about what your real concern is here. Are you really concerned with the loss, or are you using it as a way to distract yourself from your own work? That's what I'm hearing. I'm hearing beware. Do not let other people's burdens distract you. That's what I'm getting. Between now and the end of the year, we need to take self-responsibility. We need to go inward. We need to focus on self. We need to address those 7 questions that we talked about. And we need to try to get ourselves in alignment, grow, and get that solid foundation laid down, right? Because if the solid foundation is not laid down, what happens? The universe is not going to build a house on a rocky, unstable foundation. Okay? So, first priority is not fixing other people. It's not obsessing on why these other people won't give me what I need, or why these other people won't validate me, right? We're being warned. Don't, because this is a get it done energy, right? And I did say we can get swept up in it. Now it's time to get swept up in it. But this is warning. Don't get so swept up in it that you're no longer in your heart. Man, it's so funny. I never really noticed how heart-shaped this was before today. But it is definitely heart-shaped. Anyway, okay, and I keep being drawn to it, right? So that is the warning. Let's see, is there anything else? Anything else, son? Okay. Isolation and principle. Yep. And it's so funny, I just heard, you don't need to read the book, you know what these cards are. Which is funny because I do as soon as they came out. Basically, this is saying, this is the time between now to the end of the year. This is the time where it's okay for us to isolate a little bit. We want to isolate a little bit. We want to go within. We need to figure out, if we don't already know who we are, what we believe, what our values are, what our morals are, now is the time to figure that out. Okay? Success here, and look at this card. It has both the sun and the moon. And there's this successful, harmonious vibe, right? It's if you can balance out these two things, you live in this victorious space of spiritual health. That's what I'm hearing. Okay? So remember that. Now is the time. The next 6 to 7 months is the time for us to go within, isolate a little bit, figure out who we are, grieve our losses, grieve who, because sometimes too, that brings up a good point. Sometimes too, we have to grieve who we thought we were going to be, right? Growing up, I had a whole different idea of what my life was going to be, right? And I had all these plans, and I had pictured it and fantasized it. And at some point, in my adult journey, I had to grieve what I thought things were going to be to accept and make room for what things are, right? Like, and so that's part of it too, I feel like. What I'm getting here is like, it's going to be hard. You know, look, this person is like, oh my God, this is so stressful and it's so hard to do. But this person is there like, don't worry, I got you. I'm holding your hand, right? What I'm hearing is that is your spiritual team. That is the people on the other side, your ancestors, your guides, your angels, your fairies, your spiritual team, the people supporting you. They will, this is what I'm getting. You may feel like you're all alone and you're isolated in trying to do this work, but you are not. You are constantly being supported from the other side. And sometimes all you have to do is acknowledge that support. Say out loud, thank you, I'm grateful. Or listen, there have been many times in my life where I have like surrendered completely on my knees and been like, I need help. I don't know what I'm doing. Obviously, what I'm doing is not working and I'm not on the right path because nothing is working out for me, right? And so there have been times where I've completely surrendered and I've said, spiritual team, I don't know what I'm doing. Send me a sign, guide me. And they will come and guide you and they will send support. And sometimes that support comes in the form of a gift from somebody. It comes in the form of a person sometimes, right? Or like, here's another example. If you have been like saying to your guides and praying, like, I just need something, right? I need something to teach me how to do this. And then the next day you meet a therapist. That is the universe, right? You asked for help and said, send me somebody that will help teach me. And then the very next day you met somebody that's like, yeah, hi, I'm a therapist and we just happen to run into each other. That is the universe answering what you've asked for, right? So don't reject. Like, the thing that kills me is that we all as humans do it. We will ask for help and then the universe sends help. And then we're like, well, that's not the form I thought the help would take. So I'm going to reject this because this isn't what I wanted. Right? Like, sometimes as humans, we get these stories, we tell ourselves these stories over and over again, and we get these ideas in our head and we fantasize about things to the point that then when the universe actually delivers us help in the form of a person or a book or a class or a program or a school or a therapist or a teacher or whatever it is, and then we're like, oh, I didn't want help in the form of therapy, so I'm just not going to do anything then. No, right? Keep your eyes open to the opportunities, and keep in mind that if you're asking the universe and your spiritual team for help, keep your eyes peeled for the signs, because if you've asked, they're bringing help. It might not, you need to be open to the opportunities, right? It may not come in the form you think it's going to come in, but it will come in some form. And sometimes you have to just be like, man, this is way out of my comfort zone, but I'm going to do it because I asked for help yesterday and now I feel like they're delivering me the answer. But I'm afraid and I feel resistance because I've never done this form of whatever it is. I've never taken this class. I've never gone to a therapist, whatever it is. Trust that your guides will not lead you astray and that they are always there holding your hand even when you feel completely alone and isolated, right? Always, they're right there trying to help move you into this, look at this beautiful green abundance. Your spiritual team is always there supporting you and trying to move you into this beautiful abundance. That's it. I'm sorry, it's funny. I was like, anything else? That's it. No more. Done. We're going to wrap it up. Thank you, everyone. Thank you for watching. Please like, share, and subscribe. I am trying to grow the channel. I'd love to have you here in our tribe. that's it. I'm just going to go. Namaste. Have a wonderful rest of your day, week, weekend, whatever it is for you. Get yourself some smoky quartz, some lepidolite, and some selenite. It'll be beneficial to you for the rest of the year. And good luck on your journey and on the work, because I know the work is difficult at times. Even for me, after all these years, it still can be difficult at times. So just remember, your spiritual team is there. There are people and energies supporting you. All you have to do is ask. Okay. Bye-bye.